I looked in the mirror and I realized that my one eye, the one with the pain behind it, was looking straight ahead, and my other eye was moving.
Hey, got something really cool I want to run by and let you know what's going on. So I'm starting a group that will start taking a deep dive into each one of these episodes. So we'll collectively come together and talk about the shows, talk about the guests. I'll be bringing back some of the guests to do some Q&A sessions and really take a further dive into their story, their journey, the episode, talk about, maybe some of the things you wish I would have asked on the episodes, do some Q&A sessions and the like. As a friend put it to me, it's really like a book club, but for the podcast. So a couple times a week, we'll go in, we'll break down the favorite shows of the week, and have cool discussions around everything that we've heard, we've learned, and want to know about their journey. Some of these guests will come in and they'll teach part of, what makes them awesome at what they do. And then, as always, I'll be providing regular value and content in this group. It's really cool because this only is going to cost $5 a month to join this group. And you'll be able to come in, interact with everybody else in there. So I'll put a link right in the show notes for this that you can jump in, come have a conversation with us, and we will really deep dive into each one of these episodes and help us all rise up together. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's going to be a great show today. Having the show wasn't something I started out to do. But the day I found out somebody wanted to really sponsor the show was a really, really cool experience. So, guys, I want you to take some time to go check out Point Blank Safety Services and their new nonprofit, Blue Family Fund. These guys are doing some really, really cool things. And Stacy McGovern, who's the CEO over there, has been a dear friend, and she was a guest on the show. But these guys are literally taking, the off-duty officers and putting them out in security guard role. And here's what's cool about it is, as they're protecting our lives, they don't make a whole lot of money in that regard. No first responders are paid for the value they provide for our safety and our health and taking care of us. So these guys, Stacy and her team over at Point Blank Safety Services have really found a cool way to give back to these officers by helping them provide an additional income so they can continue to support and protect us. So do me a favor, guys. Seriously, go check out pointblanksafety.com and then go look at their nonprofit, which is Blue Family Fund. Now, this nonprofit was created because of the success of Point Blank Safety Services. They wanted to give back to the families of fallen officers and be able to give scholarships away to the families of current, police officers. So do me a favor. It would mean the world to me if you would go out and help support this show by supporting Point Blank Safety Services and their nonprofit Blue Family Fund. Just tell them Donnie has sent you. You heard it on Donnie Success Champions, and Stacy will take a tremendous and amazing care of you. Thanks, guys. I'm bringing you Shelly Rood, and she's going to take us through her journey of being in the Army to dealing with an alcoholic husband to creating a career and changing people's lives, and now helping women really go for it in their life with an organization she runs, helping people find jobs and careers. Just a cool episodes of the ups and downs and continuing to run and gun and go for it. Enjoy this episode. Hey guys, going to be a fun episode today. So I'm bringing you Miss Shelly Rood, and I already made fun of her last name and told her she's rude. And she said she's heard it her entire life, but still loves the funny joke. You guys know my crazy ass humor, so I'm going to let her tell her story, walk us through her journey a little bit. So Miss Shelly, welcome to the show, my dear. Please tell us your story.
Thank you for having me, Donnie. It's absolutely my honor to be a part of your show. I had the opportunity to listen to a couple of others, and I have to tell you, I'm a little intimidated My story it's my story and I own it. But oh my goodness, we've got people on here that were homeless and starving and beaten by their parents, and good Lord, that's not me.
Dude, I'm with you, because some of these stories, I think I got the same kind of, I got a great childhood growing up, middle American family. I didn't have all that hard. I mean, I've had some screws and stuff, but yeah, get it. You're fine. Tell your story.
I did. So I have to be careful how I tell my story, because I actually was teaching a class at a community college not too long ago, and I opened it by introducing myself as I legitimately am a privileged woman that grew up in a good neighborhood. I had good parents. I was given the opportunity to go to college. I went to Western Michigan University. And would you know that I had somebody walk out of the course?
Oh, wow.
This female absolutely could not handle the fact that I was presenting to her. Why should she listen to me? Because I came from a privileged background. And that instance has taught me a lot, because I actually was using it as a segue into telling these people that go through these situations how much respect and admiration I have for them. I come from a journalism background. When I went to Western Michigan University, I studied journalism. And then I worked in broadcast television for 7 years as the director of marketing, the director of production. I handled the camera operators, the show directors, the crew. We did the promotions for the reporters and such. And it's the story of people that get me, much like you. We've just got a heart for these stories. And
right.
So when I went to Western, I was watching these students live almost like a double life, right? And I got really, really tired. If you don't know Western Michigan University, I think Rolling Stone rated it the top drinking school of all time, once upon a time. And
well, if Rolling Stone rated it, then it means it's a party school of some sort.
Yeah, maybe. But so I joined ROTC, okay? But I had absolutely no desire to join the military. I joined Western Michigan University, and then I got really tired of the sorority that I was in. I got so tired of watching the drinking and just, the weekends that were wasted and up until 4 a.m. And thank goodness this was before all of the social media. So there's really
that is the one blessing I get with people that are closer to our age is thank God we didn't have social media growing up.
It really is. So because I was watching that, I decided outdoor survival skills. And I took it, Donnie. I took it so I wouldn't gain 15 pounds in college.
Fair enough.
It worked. It worked. But so through that,
so girls, if you're listening, if you need a diet program, go join ROTC and get their outdoor skills program.
Absolutely. Boys will chase you. Not that that's the goal in life at all. But so the people were just so drastically different, and through that I joined the rifle team. It turns out that I'm actually a phenomenal shot, and I became the captain of the rifle team.
No, that's interesting, because I really think that most women are a better shot than guys.
That's scientifically proven.
Is it? Oh, good, because that's always been a thought, but we're just impatient and cocky, so.
What's awesome, though, is that I honestly think that men are so successful because they act like they think that they know what they're doing, whereas women will be the first ones to go, oh, I don't know how to do that, no, and they're scared to try, right? But men are like, heck yeah, let's get in there and tackle it.
I like that theory. I'm going to borrow that one later, just so you know.
Western Michigan was fun. I watched, unfortunately, one of my sorority sisters have GHB slipped in her drink, and she did have a rape episode. And to me, that was the last straw. So I left the Greek world and kind of dove myself into the world of people that were doing great things. And through that, I did decide to join the military. I did end up as distinguished military graduate. I got to choose my branch. I chose intelligence.
That's a thing?
Apparently, I didn't know till I got it. But it means that you get to choose your branch. You're not just slotted. So
and then you chose the Army.
I did, yeah. Well, I thought I was going to be a real-life FBI agent, I grew up with Ninja Turtles and watching April O'Neil, right? And Tomb Raider, Laura Croft. That's me all the way. So I thought that I was going to change the world through being some sort of loose secret agent. And I'll have you know that I did actually grow up to become one, so that's really cool. But we'll get to all that.
That's awesome.
So, I don't have a sob story, okay? I stayed in the reserves for years. I worked in broadcast television for years, worked my way up the corporate ladder, saw a lot of things that I hated. I saw, married men sleeping around. I saw people getting promotions that totally shouldn't get promotions. It was a really dirty, gritty world in corporate. And I got out of television and I got into the fitness industry because being a soldier, I think that we all just have this level of readiness, physical readiness that's ingrained within us. No matter how old we get, we feel like we have to be ready to serve another. We have to be ready to save that life. We have to be ready to run back into that building, right? So the world of physical fitness, I just wanted to learn the industry. And so I spent about 5 years in that. And, you know, through that, you see a lot of different levels of leadership, which is so fun. So I was the director of fitness for multiple gyms down south, great big huge ones, right? And at one point they hired this, I won't even say gentleman, they hired this man to come in and assist with sales. And I had a team of personal trainers underneath me. And one thing that he didn't like was that he didn't feel that I was a bubbly personality out on the floor. Okay. So he literally said this. He said, I want to see you walking around the gym high-fiving your teammates. So I know my vets will appreciate this because that's not real motivation, is it? When was the last time that you saw a group of Army people on a mission, veteran, right? When's the last time they walked around going, oh, and high-fiving each other? Yeah,
no, it's more like a jack in the face and a smack on the ass.
There you go. So I couldn't handle that, right? So I got out of working for other people and I started working for myself. I opened a consulting business. I consulted different gyms, mostly CrossFit gyms, right? Good people that wanted to do their own thing. And through that whole thing, right, I have my military career. I am in the reserve. You want to talk about failures, right? Throughout my career in the reserves, I married an active duty Army Ranger, right? So that's a fun relationship there.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the divorce rate is higher for marrying these types of individuals than anywhere else. No, but I love them and we'll get back to that in a second. But so trying to struggle with having my own civilian career, having a military reserve career, right, and a family and all of that at the same time. I have some glorious failures in the military. Let me tell you what. So I was offered at one point in my career to be a general's aide, and everybody I knew said, don't do it. And so I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't. So I went ahead and accepted it, and I accepted it knowing that I probably didn't know what I was doing. I just, when it comes to protocol.
No, I guarantee you didn't know.
Drill and ceremonies. Yeah. I don't know that any of them know what they're doing.
Right.
But so the failure here, this is hilarious. There was basically a document that I needed the general's signature on. And I got an email from somebody that had signature authority that said, here, his signature's at the bottom. Just put it on the other document. Oh, you know where this is going. So I didn't think a thing of it. And then, I don't know, a week or so later got called into the office under an official high-level military investigation for forging a general's signature. Oh my gosh, what just happened, right?
Well, they weren't wrong.
It turns out that the gentleman is Puerto Rican. There was a little bit of a language barrier there, and he meant the signature block, not the signature itself.
At least you had the defense of, no, really, I was just doing what I was told, you know.
Right. And, okay, so then another awesome failure. I worked in intelligence for a long time. I love the intelligence field. I actually still do it in the civilian side. But I ran into some trouble when I got into the career course. And there's a whole lot of drama there that I'll spare you. But long story short, I graduated 3 out of the 4 phases. When I went back for the 4th phase, I learned that my instructor from the previous phase was under investigation for favoritism to his students.
Oh.
Well, Shelly Rood is like a top A student all the time because I am a disgusting perfectionist and I don't know when to quit, right? So, of course, I got top marks in that phase, which means that now I'm a target for when I come back to the next phase. So I was one of those people that had a plagiarism complaint put against me, totally bogus. And just as shocked as I was with the whole general's aid thing, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm going to go back. You've already forged a general signature, so what's one more thing going on there?
I mean, I totally agree.
Wow.
Right? So here I am, like a person that is all about high morals, high character, blah, 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 with a plagiarism complaint. I'm a journalism student, right? This is crazy. And so I will share with you the bureaucracy I couldn't get out of it, basically. It has to go in front of an administration, right, an academic administration board, and then they'll look at all the details and vote, blah, blah, blah. Well, in the meantime, I was 3 days into this course, and they basically said, just stay here and do the coursework. You won't pass, but it'll look better for your command if you don't leave. So
that makes no sense.
Talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? So now you have to wake up with your classmates. Nobody else knows what's happening. You got to put your boots on, put your uniform on, go into the classroom, do graduate level work, knock out these products that you're talking 24, 48-hour operations, working with teammates. You have to be on your game. You have to cooperate. And you know that you're going to fail. You already have a piece of paper that says you failed this course. So you have an option, right? You can crawl under a bed and, I don't know, cry, right? Or you can continue to Shelly Rood it, and you can get top marks on everything that you're assigned, and you can walk out of there with a failure rate, but also have the documentation that every piece of work that you did while you were there would have given you an A. I
like that. So is Shelly Rood a verb now?
It is, yeah.
All right. No, I like it. I'm going to borrow it. I'm going to Shelly Rood the shit out of this here later.
There you go, right? And so you mentioned, right, one of my nicknames has been Miss Ambitious, and that thing has followed me around for decades now. So I'm Miss Ambitious because I live for, yes, let's do this. Let's do the thing. And I love that the military, this is what I say to my entrepreneurs, the military shows us that greatness can be achieved. We do high-level strategic operations that are almost inconceivable to the normal average person. And yet you can look back and say, we achieved this, we achieved this, we achieved this. Yes, we did that operation. And so when someone comes to me in a business setting and says, well, gosh, that looks great, but I have no idea how we'll get there, my answer is, we'll do it. Yes, do it. Do the thing. Just go for it. And it will happen. It truly will. So maybe I'm a little overly ambitious, right? I agree. For every 10 things that I fail on, right, one shines through, but that one is just phenomenally awesome.
Right. Well, I mean, in our world, you have to be 1 foot on crazy, 1 foot on hold my beer and watch this, and the other foot is and the other foot is the willingness to be tenacious as hell to get after it, and keep getting after it on a regular basis.
You know what's so sad, Donnie? It's these people that are my age, right? So we're in our 30s. We're not young, meaning we're not in our 20s and people think that we don't know what they're doing, right? So like we are in our 30s. We have the knowledge. We have the background. We are so blessed, and we live in America with all of these resources. And you know what? We're spending our time on Netflix. We're spending our time in bars and restaurants. And it just eats me alive when I see these people that are just like me, and they're just wasting the resources that they have when they are game changers. It's not that they could be a game changer. It's that they are a game changer, and they're not doing anything with it. Well, so Miss Ambitious is that side of ambition.
Do you think they're choosing that lifestyle? Are they choosing to hang out in the bars, or do they give up, or do they not know any better?
That's a great question. I almost feel like it's a choice by default. It's that, right, in the military, you do 30, 60, 90-day planning. You plan out your 1 year, you plan out your 2 year, you plan out your 5 year, and you go after it. And you have a day-to-day plan. You have a week-to-week plan. And I feel like in the civilian world or in your off time, people don't plan that. My husband and I now, we have a completely different lifestyle than almost anybody we know. We have quarterly goals for our family. We have weekly goals for our family. And we know, 3 months will go by and we'll start to feel a little turbulent about, well, what's happening with this? And I thought we were going to purchase that, and the garage still didn't get cleaned out. And then we'll know, like, oh, shoot, we have to do our quarterly planning meeting. And then once we do that meeting, oh, my gosh, it's like the anxiety of the world just goes away. Because you know that
you guys really sit down and do a quarterly planning.
Yes, we absolutely do. We planned out, how long we were going to be engaged for, when we would get married. We plan everything.
Wow, that is way too structured for my world.
Isn't it, right? Well, but that's the best part. If you put it, this thing behind me is a giant whiteboard. We have giant whiteboards all over our house. You put it all up there. You cross it all off. Don't get me wrong. Like 90% of the stuff doesn't happen or gets bumped to the next quarter. or just falls off completely, or we look at it and go, that was a stupid idea. But the point is, it's there. You have a visualization of all this craziness that God puts into your house.
Wow, that's impressive. You know, my wife and I have sat down and done goal setting things before. I'll have to admit we haven't done it in some time, and it's always a unique exercise. But for me, it was always unique to see what was her focus versus my focus of the things we want to accomplish. A lot of times we were aligned. But how did you guys start getting into doing quarterly, almost business sessions as a husband and wife family team?
So we only dated for 7 months before we got married.
Shotgun wedding or?
No. We're in our 30s, and we both were just at a place in life where we wanted a marriage. We wanted a biblical marriage. We were not interested in wasting our time, right? We talk about wasting our time, dating people, going to restaurants, drinking, casual. Like, what are you going to do? Come over and watch a race with me? I don't do that. And in the dating world, I can't tell you how many men that I would meet that spend their lives, and I'm going to offend like half of the audience here, that spend their lives on football and beer, right? Like, you can love football and beer, but it doesn't mean it has to run your life. I can't date somebody like that. Are you kidding? Miss Ambitious paired up with somebody who sits on the couch for 5 nights out of the week? It doesn't work. I'm curious,
since you're Miss Ambitious, does the husband have a name? Does he have like puts up with Miss Ambitious, like a nickname like that or something?
No, not yet.
All right. We need to work on that. That's awesome. What was it really like juggling the military career with the civilian lifestyle, those two worlds, and 5 days a week you're going to play civilian business executive type person, and 1 week in a month you're having to dress up as a G.I. Joe and go sit on your ass for hours, do absolutely nothing, and go run a mile every once in a while? What was that whole scenario like?
It's extremely difficult. My lifestyle is extremely difficult. Any reservist, any entrepreneur, any business owner with multiple ventures, it's an extremely difficult lifestyle. I will share with you that everything has to be in place. I'm sure you've heard of the 5, so the military says you have 4 different areas of life. A lot of professional development experts say that you have 7. And the idea here is that the sections of your life need to be level. You cannot ignore one section of your life. Otherwise, when the other ones get overloaded, it's like a playing field that just kind of tips in one direction and everything falls off the board, right? And so this even goes back to the military resiliency training, which I actually teach and I coach workshops on this, because I get that question a lot. Because, you know, I'll be honest with you, a whole lot of overweight stay-at-home moms look at me and they say, Shelly, how do you do what you do, right? And my answer is, you strategically plan it and then you execute.
Well, that's interesting, because my thought would have been is you just do. And I think a lot of people don't just do. They sit around bitching and moaning that I don't know how to get this all done. Well, you start. It's as simple as that.
You ask questions. You don't know anything, right? I don't know anything. When I start on a venture, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I ask a ton of people who do know what they're doing. And at some point, I build a knowledge base, not of my own knowledge, right, but of the knowledge of other experts. And I look at it as though they're the ones that are guiding the actions to the goal. So how do you, right, so that board can fall. And I will share with you an experience where that board did fall. I was in the military and the reserves. I was working in television, I think, at the time, and came back after 2 deployments with PTSD, went into a very familiar story of alcoholism and drinking and just a downward spiral, right? So we have a son at this point. He's very young. He can't take care of himself. And I had to go away for drill training 7 hours away. So I'm gone. I'm out of the state. This person is watching my child, and I call home to check in on the kid on an afternoon, and the caregiver is clearly under the influence. Oh. You want to talk about the board just completely falling, right? So it's at that point where I recognize that right now I cannot be in the reserve. So I handled that situation. I went ahead and put in for an IRR packet. So it's okay to take breaks from the different areas of your life every now and then. You can pull out, you can come back in. Just because you leave one industry doesn't mean, oh, I threw away all of my experience that I've ever built up. You can come back to it. It's not like somebody set it on fire. I mean, unless you're the one that burned that bridge. But
I'm going to go back to if you forged a general signature, then, you know. So you go through this. Where do you go next in life, right? You go from the Army world, civilian world, colliding. Where do you go next as part of the next journey in your life?
So I could not handle what happened to me at the career course. To have a plagiarism thing put up against me, to be told that my morality and my ethics were being questioned at a time when my family life was falling apart, right? That was the last thing that I needed. So it coincided with the other issue. I went into the IRR and I fixed my family. I devoted a year specifically to my son. We moved out, we went away, we started my own business. I focused on my strengths, and I went back to what I absolutely love, and that's public speaking.
Okay.
I love a crowd.
You and me both.
I truly believe that it's a gift from God to be able to stand in front of a room and present, and the bigger the better. The fact that I don't have nerves, the fact that the messages that pour through me are more important than myself is an honor. When somebody hands you the microphone, even for 2 minutes, it's an absolute honor. And so that year of devotion to family really was a point of discernment. And what I came to the conclusion of is that the military clearly did not need another intelligence officer. What the military truly needed was another chaplain. I saw it from the inside out. And after that year, I decided to rejoin, and I have been working to become accepted as a chaplain for the last 2 years. So at this point, I am a full-time seminary student. I am running my business as an entrepreneur. I do full-time public speaking, and I also do a lot of intelligence consulting as well. I'm the director of intelligence for one of the largest global security firms that's based here in Detroit, Michigan.
Wow. Impressive. Let's talk about the chaplain thing for a minute, because that's interesting as hell. Being a chaplain in the military is literally one of the toughest jobs I think there is out there, because one, you're dealing with 500 different religions, but two, especially in the times we're in now, you're dealing with some people going through some extremely, extremely dark times.
Extreme.
And what's running through your head that says, I want to grab that torch and be that person to help people through that journey? That's incredible.
So when you have been in that dark place, when you've been on your knees at your bedside, when you are so exhausted that your body is shaking from crying that you don't even have any more tears that pour out, male and female, who is there for you? Who are you going to call? There has to be somebody. If you don't have a strong spiritual base, which disgustingly, most people don't. I think that we're so distracted with all the shiny things that America provides for us that we don't even think about our spiritual health. And I'm not talking about choosing one religion or another. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the spirit of who you are as a human being. When you're in that place, who do you call? Who do you go to? There has to be someone. Now, my answer as a Christian is that Jesus is always there for you and you can go to him. But the fact of the matter is not all of us are Christians. And so I elect to be the face and the voice of God just so that other people have the opportunity to understand that someone else will always be there for them. They might not be directly physically there, but they need to know that there are good people out there in the world who are willing to give everything of themselves for other people. The suicide rate in the United States military is absolutely astonishing. We lost 22 soldiers yesterday to suicide. We're losing 22 today, and tomorrow we're going to lose another 22. Now, how is it that I can walk out of my house filled with pleasure and joy, and not cheerleader joy, but genuine appreciation for my life,
gratitude,
while my brother and sister can't feel it? And I've been in that place in my life where I couldn't feel it. I've been in that place in my life when the board toppled over and everything came crashing down. And all I would say is, God, where is joy? Why can't I have a genuine smile? Why am I not in love with my life right now? And he took care of me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good on you. That is going to be a very difficult role, and it takes one hell of a badass to be able to pull that off. I know recently this year we just had one of the top military counselors that had walked several guys and saved several guys' lives from suicide finally fall prey to to the same demons, and he committed suicide this year, and he'd helped thousands of these guys coming back, and his funeral honors were amazing. So,
Donnie, it's spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
It is a fight. It is a day-to-day fight. There are demons that work inside of us, and there are opposing forces. And to quiet those voices, it has to have a strategy, right? And it has to have an execution.
100%. So you're going through all this. You're also doing, remind me of the security thing. Walk me through that.
Oh, so that's super interesting because I don't think that we knew about this when I first started talking with you. So through my public speaking service, I started a community for women who kick butt. It's called Missilia, which is Latin.
It's called what?
It's Missilia.
Missilia, okay.
Missilia is Latin for a group of missiles. So we are female veterans, female firefighters, police officers, first responders, attorneys, lawyers. Basically, if you are a female and you identify with us, then we love you and we want you to join. Missilia offers gift boxes. They have like beauty items in there that are handpicked by me. They come with a little card that explains who and why is in there. Like Doc Spartan has veteran owned. They were on Shark Tank. They have a badass chick scrub. Yes, that's in my box, right? So Missilia, I was pitching as part of Detroit Startup Week as a Bunker Lab Veterans and Residents Program competition, and I won. And at that pitch was 4 minutes. Here's a third-party testament to how great of a public speaker I am. 1 minute.
Don't say so yourself.
So 1 minute of my presentation was a video. 3 minutes were me talking about my passion for female veterans and how we can get behind them to give them this reinforcement of identity. After that pitch, I was approached by a company who said, "We need you. We need you." That's a dream.
Yeah, I think that worked.
It's an absolute dream. So we are finishing up a merger, and by the fall, I'll have some more huge announcements for you. But we do everything from, the DOG is one of our clients, right? We do everything from teaching police officers how to sweep rooms. We have jobs for everybody. So if you guys are out there and you want to be a part of it, please feel free to message me and let me know. We've got door kickers. We've got desk jockeys. We've got intel analysts. I've got drone assets. I need pilots. If you've been in the military and you just love operations, we can use you in some way, shape, or form.
And guys, we will put a link to that in the show notes because I have a ton of veterans that listen to the show because I do bring a lot of veterans on. So we'll put all that information in there so you can get in touch with Shelly if you're on the market. That's a beautiful asset. Thank you for that. So what aren't you doing? Let's ask that question.
Well, Miss Ambitious is not self-ambition, right? How to serve others. And as I go through and strategize and look at the millions of things that I'm doing, I have to figure out who I'm serving and why I'm serving them. So what am I not doing? I'm not taking on things that will distract me. I can tell you that I watch maybe 2 Netflix movies a week, maybe. I will tell you that I'm not watching cable because I don't pay for it. I will tell you that I don't even know how other people waste their time. What do they do, those games, like Candy Crush?
I have no idea.
I don't do that either.
My nieces tell me there's some game they play all the time, Fortnite or something like that they're all into.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I don't Minecraft. You're not going to find me at a bar on a Friday night unless there's a high-level strategic networking contact that I'm trying to make, right?
Right.
We live differently. We live with purpose. And don't get me wrong, we do enjoy life. We enjoy what God gives us. We are blessed enough to have a home right on the water. I don't know if you can see the lake behind my home here, but, God takes care of us.
So you literally grow up wanting to be April O'Neil from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I love telling people this. I got a buddy who is actually Raphael in the movies. He's the guy in the costume. Yeah, Ken Scott. And I always bust his chops all the time. I'm like, dude, you weren't even an actor. You were just a dude in a costume. But
I was like, so I really don't fangirl, right? There's very few. I fangirled when I met Rosie the Riveter. Recently when I met in Medal of Honor winner. And if you introduce me to him, I will totally fangirl.
Oh, then he'll love it. He's going to be a guest on the show coming up here for too long. So I will absolutely make that introduction because he'll love it. Because he does the Comic Cons and everything and signatures and everything. So I'll make that introduction.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, but you wanted to be the April O'Neil. You wanted to be the FBI type, lawyer hardcore Croft badass doing all this. You're on your journey. You get your teeth kicked in with the general forgery thing. You go get the plagiarism thing, so you get a couple of solid right hooks on that journey as you're mounting forward. You go through a rough marriage and having to deal with all that, and in the midst of that, having a kid, growing it all up. How do you keep yourself together and keep pushing forward when you've had that much stacked on top of you, and you seem to be constantly inventing almost the new great adventure for yourself? How do you hold it all together?
Donnie, it's not my plan. It's God's plan for me. And when you feel overwhelmed and when you feel uncertain of what's next, where do I go, and you can't quiet the voices, you delve into the Word of God and you sit down and you ask Him. This is the greatest skill that I ever learned, and it's about asking for what's called discernment. And you close your eyes and you meditate and you ask God to help you discern the path that you should walk forward on, because you're going to wake up and you're going to have 10 different ways to go. And you can't decide which way to go. So you need to close your eyes, meditate on the options, and He will tell you which way to go. And if you do that day after day after day after day, I genuinely will tell you that I am living proof that greatness only comes out of it.
So that's it. Because there's non-believers, there's believers, there's both sides of the track. And I don't try and do meditation because I don't like the word meditation, but I do like to sit in my own thoughts for a while.
There you go.
Thing. I just changed it. Right.
If you see in like a meditation yoga class, I'm just going to punch somebody. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not that type of girl. I get these visions of these hippies in free-flowing clothes. And have you seen goat yoga, by the way? Just a weird thought. You need to totally YouTube goat yoga.
I'm a little ashamed that I have seen goat yoga.
But that's the kind of things that pop through my head when you say meditation. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around it because we move such a fast-paced world. We're running 100 miles an hour. To even have the thought to even sit for 5 minutes and try and be in your own head is difficult for people. I struggle with it just because everything's going on with me, but...
So this was an observation that I made years and years and years ago. When you're the one, running around and trying to do a million things, right, and you're stressed out and you get all this on your plate. Oh, I'm so busy, right? There's so many women out there right now. I'm so busy. Okay, well, that's just time management. But let's look at this. When you think of the people that you know in your life that are just phenomenal leaders, maybe it's a colonel, maybe it's a general, maybe it's the CEO of a company. Do they look that way? No, Donnie, they don't. They look calm and poised, and they look like they know what they're doing. Does that mean that they don't have a million things that they're going after? No. It means that they have genuinely sat down and taken the time to think and strategize, and they don't need to run around with their hair on fire.
Right. Jen Sincero, who's written a couple of cool books. One's called You're a Badass, and the second one's called You're a Badass at Making Money. The second book is 10 times better than the first book, but she talks about meditation in her book, and she describes it simply this way, and I love this thought process because for me, the word meditation is just this weird thing. I'm just not
totally weird.
Right? But she describes it this way, that meditation is simply closing your eyes, focus on your breathing, set a timer for 5 minutes, and every time you stop, your mind drifts off to something else, focus back on your breathing. And she's like, it's a meditation practice. It's called a practice for a damn reason. It's not easy to get started. So that's how I got to be able to sit in my own thoughts, was literally, taking 5 minutes, setting a timer on my phone, focus on my breathing, and then every time my mind drifted away, just focus back on my breathing. And it's weird, and I don't know if you experience the same thing, but for me, you get almost this calmness about you when you're successfully able to sit in no thought for a time and see what happens up. Do you experience kind of the same thing, or? You
absolutely do, and it goes into the physiology of how the body actually works, right? If you imagine all of your thoughts are like little files, and as you go through your day, your brain absorbs information, and there are papers flying everywhere. That's how the brain works. They are just up in your brain space, flipping all around.
Right.
When you go to bed, that is the only time when you sleep your brain, that's the only time that your body can actually relax enough to file away all of those thoughts and ideas. Your brain has its own memory system process, and feel free to Google all you want on this, right? When you sleep or when you meditate, when you have some sort of calming measure, your body can file all of those papers, and when you come out of it, that's why you have that feeling of clarity.
Absolutely. And it's a truly beautiful, beautiful thing. So on your journey, you've had some medical scares as well. Do you care to walk through those? Yeah,
absolutely. So at a time when I had joined the IRR, so I was not serving.
And for our civilian people, what's the IRR?
The IRR is where it's a leave of absence. It's called the inactive ready reserve. It means that you can duck out for a certain period of time, typically up to a year, to handle life situations. There's different reasons you can join it. And then you have the option to come back in and resume your normal duty when you're ready.
Absolutely. And there's also another version of that. So when a typical person signs up for the military, they typically sign up for 4, maybe 6 years. Well, you do those 4 active years, but you're actually signing up for 8. So you do your 4 active duty, and then you'll have, 4 years of inactive reserves, where you can be called back into the service during that time frame. So just to give them an idea. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I was stuck at a point in my life where I was working down in Charleston, South Carolina. I was working with a wonderful facility called Foundation Fit, home of CrossFit Wando. That's a male and female married couple and their brother, family-owned facility. Talk about just an incredible workspace to be in. And I loved what I was doing. I was making great money. I was with my son, but there was something that was digging at me where I felt like everything was perfect except I wasn't by my parents. My parents lived back up here in Michigan. My dad had cancer at the time, and I knew that I wanted to be closer to them, but I love, everything ambitious, and here I am, I'm strong, independent woman, right? So I'm going to do it on my own. and I had been for 4 years. Well, I think God had other plans. I actually just woke up one day with an excruciating headache, and after, I would say, a 6-week period of being in and out of ERs and urgent care centers, I've been told that I had a migraine. I was told that I just needed to not stress out so much. Oh, please, right? But nobody could figure out what it was. And then finally, I ended up, my pastor had a connection with the head of neurology at Medical University of South Carolina. And they said, go just right into the ER and we'll admit you and we'll get it figured out. Now, over this 6-week period of time, the headache was so bad where there were days where I literally could not sit up, just laying in bed. And if you lay flat back, it's actually worse than if you sit up. And my field of vision was shrinking. So I could see normal, and then all of a sudden my peripheral disappeared and I could see like a car windshield. And then it disappeared even smaller to where I could only see a computer screen, and everything else was black. So I know that there's something wrong and I'm not getting any answers, right? And if I keep doing nothing, I'm probably going to go blind because I don't know what's happening here. So I go into Medical University of South Carolina, and that day before I went in, I looked in the mirror and I realized that my one eye, the one with the pain behind it, was looking straight ahead, and my other eye was moving.
Oh, wow.
So it turned out to be something called an orbital pseudotumor, and there really is no cause for it. It's just your body creating a mass, like a fake tumor, behind one of your eyeballs in your orbital socket. And the mass was so large that it filled up the socket so my eye could not move. And it had no peripheral vision. Super creepy, right? Like, I'm a beautiful young woman. I got one eye that doesn't move. What's going on here? But, thank goodness.
Just because I like your personality, I guarantee if you and I were talking, it would have been done in a funny manner. But I've been like, no, Shelly, look at me. I'm over here. Shelly.
And I'd say, I can see you. But it was dangerous, right? Because remember, I'm working out of a CrossFit facility. So right, there are eyeballs like overhead, slamming down. People are running in and out of the door. And here I'm like blind on the sides and I can't see it. I'm getting the crap scared out of me every 2 seconds. So it was legitimately obviously affecting my work and other things. So long story short, the hospital takes care of it. I'm in there for 6 days. A steroid drip was able to bring it down. And through that process, I learned, guess what, Shelly? You can't do it alone. right? I couldn't read. I couldn't see a book. I hadn't technically opened my own business, even though I was consulting and doing things on my own. I was still working for other people. And I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, if I can't see, like if I lose my vision, I can still do it, but it's going to be 10 million times harder to write a blog. It's going to be 10 million times harder to have a website. It's going to be that much harder to speak in public and to interact with people. And right. And so those of you that have lost your vision and are doing those things, again, right, my hat's off to you, because God restored my sight at a time where I couldn't cook for myself. I couldn't take care of my child. I couldn't read a book or see a phone. I decided that I just had to let go. I had to surrender to God's plan. I moved back to Michigan. I started over from scratch, just me and my child. And here we are 2 years later, and Donnie, my life could not be, I mean, you can't imagine what God has in plan for you, right? I mean, I'm sitting here in this gorgeous lakefront home with my child and my husband, and I've got these just titles that other people would just kill for. And I didn't do any of it. I woke up every day and I asked for discernment, and I didn't waste my time. I just acted on opportunities that were presented in front of me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So scary as hell to go through a scenario like that, to where you've got to still be a mom, still.
Oh man, I had spinal taps and everything. Yeah.
So how old was your boy at that time?
He was 6 going on 7.
Okay. So still young. You know, mom's still a superhero at that point. So going through all that, and I love how you put faith in it, and that was kind of your anchor through it all. So kudos to you for getting all through that. Where's all this taking you? You know, you've had one hell of a wicked journey, you know, and survived. For some say you either keep banging your head against the wall until something breaks, or you just get tenacious and hell keep pushing through. So for you, where the hell is this all taking you on your journey? Where are you going with all this?
I'm right here. I'm giving out to others every single day, right? I'm here. I got my house. I got my business. We're doing great things. We're doing amazing things. You know, where is it taking me? That's not for me to decide. I'm going to look at every opportunity that comes in. And if we can help people through that opportunity, then yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to find the resources and we're going to help people. Money doesn't stand in my way. Money is a resource. It's given and it's taken away, not at your liking or desire, right? And people who are out there who think that they can just claim money, it doesn't work that way. It's a gift to you from wherever it comes from. And you don't always know why. I've had a lot of money in my life. I've had no money in my life. When I say that I'm a privileged person, right, that doesn't come from a financial standpoint. That comes from the fact that I wasn't abused as a child. That in itself, if you have the same background that I do, you need to go home and hug your parents. Right. Because for those of us, you know, that live the other side of it and don't have solid parents, it's a whole different world.
You know, here's something that just popped in my head that I love about this is I know, because I've talked to several people that believe that without a tragedy, they can't find success.
Oh, I got a thing for you on that. Are you ready?
Yeah, bring it.
Oh, so public speakers. Oh, my goodness. Please don't call me a motivational speaker. That drives me crazy. So
yeah, go ahead and motivate me right now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Oh, high five. Go high five. When it comes to professional speakers, there's different types. I would say that I'm a cross between an entertaining speaker. I say a lot of jokes. I got some cool Army stories, right? And an educational speaker. People walk out of there with some action items that they can put into their lives that will make them better in some way eventually. There's a type of public speaker that I call the overcomer. And the overcomer has the same story of something that they overcame in their life. And almost every time you hear about the overcomer or talk to the overcomer, it's the same story. It might be like their story of their life, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like always this one instance or always this one issue. And what I struggle with this is that it's not going to heal you. You can share the story, right? I can share the story about the General's Aid thing, right? I can share the story about, an alcoholic ex-husband. Like, I have these stories. I am a person who survives situations of abuse. I have these stories and they come out, but they don't define me. Your life is how you define yourself. And I just want to encourage you to, instead of thinking that you're special because you overcame a really tough life situation, I instead want to encourage you to recognize that other people have also overcome just as important life situations.
Yeah, no, I like that. I often tell people that your story is your success. You know, what you've been through is your trials, your tribulations. You know, it is your story. And I mean, it's one of the reasons I started the show was to hear everybody's story, because I truly believe that everybody's got a story, and your story is going to resonate with somebody. And somebody's going to get that light bulb moment for them, or they're going to be able to get past something they've been struggling with, and that's going to change their life. And you may never meet the person whose life you've changed by sharing your story. And you don't have to go through some sort of tragedy, you know, chaos, abuse situation to find some sort of success. You just got to be willing to embrace you and be your authentic self and watch the world show up, because you're putting yourself out there on a regular basis, which you've proved your entire career with everything you've done. Well,
thank you, Tommy. And you do. And you know what? I would say if somebody is kind of struggling with that idea, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to serve another person every day. I want you to wake up and I want you to seek out somebody to serve. And once you start doing that, you'll realize that your story maybe isn't actually about you. Your story is about the people that you're impacting through
Love
it.
That's truly beautiful. Truly beautiful. So how do people reach out to you, get in touch with you, if they wanted to partner up with you on some of your things, bring you in as a speaker? I'm going to see you speak one day, but I'm going to be the guy in the back heckling. But how do people get in touch with you, connect with you, all those fun things? You
and everybody else. So we always have to do this. If you see me walk in a room and you recognize me, you have to go, Shelly Rood, because that's what everybody does. They've been doing it since I was
you need to change that and go to the whole sports thing. You know, like when somebody walks in and just do the last name, just do the room. The whole, you know, like room is like chown, you know, so it becomes a thing.
So if you do that when I walk in a room, we're already friends, right? You can, you know, just Google me. So it's ROOD, Shelly Rood, SHELLY ROOD. Just Google me, you'll find me, right? Email addresses, phone numbers, everything's in there. In this day and age, oh my gosh, we've got LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, and you know, I'm completely accessible. Here's where the ambition part comes in, right? You guys have to take the initiative to reach out and book an appointment. If you go to ShellyRood.com or if you go to missionambition.org, you can book a 30 or 60-minute discovery call. I'm going to ask you to keep it to 30, because usually people who book 60-minute calls don't really have an idea of what they want to talk about in the first place. True. So if you can book a 30-minute call, and then we can just casually network, and I can promise you that there is some way that I can help benefit your life. I don't know what it is. You know, I do a million things. I meet a million different people. I'm meeting with, you know, different Army generals every week. It seems like it's just a matter of what is it that you need and how can I benefit you? How can I help you?
That's awesome, girl. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. It will impact others and definitely change lives. Here's how I like to end every show. And just be forewarned, I do stump people with this one, so get ready. If you were to leave my audience with a phrase, a slogan, a motto, a mantra, you know, quote, something that they could carry with them on their journey, especially something they can use maybe when they're stacked up against it and going for it, what would be that phrase, quote, motto, mantra that you would say, take this with you?
For God and country.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. Miss Shelly, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story with us today.
Thank you, Donnie. It's my pleasure.
Guys, really thank you for listening to this episode. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun putting these together. I wanted to make sure before we get out of here that you knew what we were doing with social content. What we found was because of the podcast, we have a unique way of helping you get your social content out on a very easy way. What we're doing is we're interviewing people. And from that interview, we will capture a lot of information that will then be turned into videos, memes, articles, all things you can use for your social content. I know, like for me, one of the biggest struggles I had was, what do I put out there? What do I say on a regular basis? Well, we'll help do all that for you. So if this is at all of interest to you, reach out to us and let us help you grow your social media channel. I can tell you I did this for my business, and my social media is completely taking off. My Instagram, since I started doing this, jumped to over 10,000 followers, and it continues to grow. So if this is at all of interest to you, check the bottom of the show notes for the link that says, "Get my social content done right now."